That day you were baptized into Christ, that was not an end. That was just a beginning. And now the real work lies ahead. And what is that work? That work is the task of becoming more and more like God in righteousness and holiness. And listen, God has laid that responsibility upon us all. We have all been called to imitate the moral character of God. Listen to this passage. Here is 1 Peter chapter 1. What is the command? Be holy. And it's repeated in the next verse. Be holy, or I am holy. We could also look at 2 Corinthians chapter 7 and verse 1, where the command is, bring holiness to completion in the fear of God. And there's a number of other passages in the New Testament that talk about our responsibility post-salvation to live in a faithful manner before the Lord. We share in His holiness. We share in the divine nature. But what I want you to understand is, while we have all these admonitions to follow through, be holy, live in holiness, glorify the Lord, share in the divine nature, purify yourself just as He is pure. All of those commands are all over the place, but we need to understand that is a process. Because there is a progressiveness to our sanctification, and that progressiveness is going to last until the completion of this life. Look again here. I have Philippians 1:6 on the screen. And I want you to think, while you have been called to be holy and to be pure and to be righteous, that work in you is not yet complete. This is why we struggle, because we live in the flesh. As long as you live in the flesh, that work of being complete is not completed. You are a work in progress. You are not perfect. And you will not be perfect in this life. There is always an area that you're falling short. If any man say that he has no sin, he is a liar and the truth is not in him. There is some area in your life right now where you're falling short. You are not yet complete. And listen, that is why it is fruitless to measure yourself by the things you no longer do. That is why it is fruitless to measure yourself by the external things that you perform. Now, this does not mean that we should never be satisfied with just mediocrity. As I said last week, when we talk about salvation by grace through faith, we are not de-emphasizing obedience. In fact, under the system of grace, our obedience takes on a greater responsibility than it ever has before, because we have been called to magnify God's holiness. But the reality is that that's going to happen in completion before we die. The call to live in holiness does not automatically imply that I or you will always live in holiness. And the fact remains that you currently exist in, quote, an awkward combination of a redeemed soul and a sin-infested yet unredeemed body. And that is the reality.